So what really is the real story in this entire Twitter controversy? Why is it so difficult to adhere to certain rules? Or all this, is this just a smokescreen because a particular company does not want to abide by the Indian rules? We all have been watching this space, we all have an opinion on this, and as I said, remember, Republic has got you a special guest on this edition of The Biggest Story Tonight, and this is Mr. Aprameya, the co-founder of Coup, who joins us live on this edition of the news. Coup is a platform that we all now know, we all use. Coup is sticking with these rules. But I want to ask Mr. Radhakrishnan, then why should another social media platform like Twitter be running away from it? What is the problem in abiding by certain rules?
Yeah, I think, as far as we are concerned, we went through the guidelines. We saw that it is a very user-centric set of guidelines, which basically allows for users to get their grievances addressed, right? And for the relevant body of the government to always be able to get in touch with the company in case they have a problem as well, right? And it also outlines a few more things of taking down, extremely bad content, whether it's pornography, child pornography, harassment against women, and various such sorts. So I think, it brings all social media onto a level playing field. And it's in the best interest of the user, right? So as far as following the guidelines goes, as an Indian company, Indian entrepreneur, following law of the land of India is a no-brainer for us. Various companies which work outside India as well. Even if we go outside India, we will always respect the law of the land where we will operate. So that's our position on this.
Okay, India versus Twitter is the hashtag. We should use that hashtag and put our views on Coup, because Coup is again a platform that a lot of us have started to use. But Mr. Radhakrishnan, before I actually get down into the entire aspect of what really these rules are and why should a social media platform be not willing to follow those rules, there is a viewer who has an interesting question. He wants us to ask you this question, that today the entire Twitter controversy that was reported, that the blue tick verification of the vice president, of certain RSS leaders, mysteriously disappears this morning. Then later the government issues a final notice of compliance to Twitter, after which the Twitter platform decided to backtrack. These ticks are back. But tell me something. Now Twitter says in its reply that this has happened because of inactivity. How do you read into this? What do you make of this entire controversy?
No, as far as Coup as a platform goes, we think that eminence verification, which is what we call it, is irrespective of activity, right? So Coup shows or verifies the eminence of a person which is already offline. It has nothing to do with activity on Coup as far as Coup goes, right? Because if there is somebody of eminence in the society and they have created an account, that is something that is to be respected. The person is on your platform and is an eminent personality who has contributed in their field of work, and hence that eminence, because they will be searched a lot on the platform like Coup, users should be able to distinguish between users with the same name and the person of eminence, and that's why the eminence verification even exists, right? It has nothing to do with activity or inactivity on Coup, at least.
Okay, I think that's an answer. That's an important answer. So, if our viewers have their account on Coup, you are not active on this for even 6 long months, like perhaps on Twitter, Mr. Radhakrishnan here of Coup says, do not worry, your blue tick or your verification does not go off. But tell me something else, Mr. Radhakrishnan, because, we have this opportunity of having you in person here, and who else then to tell us that what really are the safeguards that right now these IT rules bring forward, not just for you, but for me as a user? And why do you believe they are important, especially in today's day and time where, any kind of content literally goes viral on social media? The reason why compliance to certain rules, adherence to basic policies of decency and, right news is very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we have a way of behaving in the offline world. I think, how we behave in the online world should also replicate how we behave in the offline world. If we are in a hall full of people, right, and there are certain people who are unmasked, who are real, who are saying something, and certain people who are masked or do not show who they really are, both of them make statements. The person who is unmasked and who is the real person should get an advantage or should have more weightage of what they say, right? So basically moving in that direction, we also want to, in the guidelines it says there should be a voluntary verification of a person that they are real. I think it's a very good move going forward, because the anonymity that exists under which a lot of people get attacked on the internet will now fade away, or the impact of that anonymous person saying something in a discussion will have a lot lesser weightage than the people who actually put their neck out and say, I'm the real person and I'm saying this, right? So I think I just took one example of the guideline, which is saying that you can allow for users to come and voluntarily say that they are a real person, right? So I think that is a very important step, and for any user to be able to come and say, okay, I'm being harassed online by this entity, this person, and for an action to be taken against it is a very fair ask, as far as I think.
Okay, and our next question is interesting. I do not know how far you can answer that, but I'll request you to take that question, with a very open heart. Someone is asking that, do you believe ideologies really work on these social media platforms? I mean, do you filter content depending on, your ideologies, which side of the divide you are? Does that happen?
So I think platforms should work like infrastructure, right? They shouldn't have any color. So for example, the best example that I can give is who is like your mic. The mic doesn't say what you should say or not say. You can say what you want, and then you have elected representatives, you have an elected government, you have the constitution, you have other citizens who will react to it. So it is up to the society together that we live in to take calls on whether what you said is right or wrong. It is not up to the platform to say it, unless it is a black and white thing where you can predict, like if there is pornography, child pornography, outright harassment of a woman, all of these are black and white, where, your machines and technology can actually learn what to block, what to not show, those kind of things. But when it comes to gray areas, opinions, I think it is very important to make sure that there is no bias from the platform's side.
And I'm sure you must be aware, Mr. Radhakrishnan, of what's happened in Nigeria. Now, earlier, we were on a phone call with a lot of these RSS leaders, some of them who also got affected with this entire controversy. And one of them actually had an opinion that somewhere we as a country, I want you now to speak as a citizen, that we as a country now need to put our foot down, and we need to tell, certain social media platforms who are not willing to abide by our rules that enough is enough.
Yeah, so as a citizen, I think, we follow rules wherever we go, right? Like, whether it is driving our car on the roads, riding our bikes, to, paying our income taxes, there are a set of rules to live in each country across the world. And so are rules in our own country of India, right? So I think following those rules, whether it's a business or whether it is an individual, is extremely important. Right? When eminent companies like Infosys, TCS, and every other company goes to other countries to establish presence, all of them follow the local law of the land, right? So as Indians, I think we are very law abiding and very respectful of other cultures, and especially a city like Bangalore, where I'm from, we are extremely welcoming. Right? Bangalore is full of people, so we almost learn every other language as citizens in Bangalore. Whoever come in, we speak in English, Kannada, every language. So I think being respectful of the nitty-gritties, nuances of every culture is extremely important.
Okay, and then having said that, I want to push that point a little further, because this is also, I think, about a lot of responsibility that hinges on a social media platform to ensure that the right information, the correct, the factual information goes out to the audience. Now, I just want to give you one little example. I think it was during the Delhi riots that you had seen a particular social media platform putting out a lot of fake news that was called out. What happens in instances like these, and what are your filters also to be able to check that whatever information goes on your platform is verified, it's accounted for, it's factual?
Yeah, so as a one-year-old company, we're very extremely dependent on the community today to tell us what is happening in the system today. So they can do it through reporting of a coup. If a coup actually gets reported a lot, it gets attention from our team on the back end, our community teams, right? Who will see whether if it is a black and white situation or whether it is a gray situation. If it is a gray situation, then there are legal bodies from the government or otherwise to be taken up in the offline world, and we will want to grow into reflecting what is happening in the offline world, right? So I think transparency of what is happening is most important for online social media, and it is not about taking a call on behalf of somebody that we will move towards. We will always depend on the machinery that's already in place in a specific country and in India that we will abide by.
And then, should a social media platform be allowed to have its biases? Because this is a platform, Mr. Radhakrishnan, that is accessed by all. But also, I think, a platform that leaves its footprints, that leaves those screenshots, that scream that perhaps that there is some kind of a bias. Now, what is your sense? Because you've been in this field for the last year and so, and you literally have been, I think, voicing your concerns again and again. But do you also believe that there are certain social media platforms that show and exhibit their biases very, very clearly?
Yeah, I think social media platforms should definitely not have biases. If the very premise around which coup exists is to give a voice to every Indian who didn't speak English. That's how we started, right? Because that voice didn't exist on the internet, and unfortunately, the voice of India was being misconstrued for only the voices of English knowing India, which is not actually true. So I think being able to give a voice to every Indian, irrespective of what their voice is very important. With freedom of speech comes the fact that all of us live in the land of India, and there is a constitution, there is a law of the land, and just like in the offline world we follow them, in the online world also there will be certain guidelines with which you should follow, right? We're probably one of the only social media apps which has a small little thing saying be respectful on our create page, right? That even if it influences a few more people to reword what they say or stop being nasty, say what you want, but be nice and respectful. I think that goes a long way. And definitely, don't want to encourage any kind of bias. And we follow, the law of the land. If there is a relevant body which is coming and giving us an official notice with a valid reason according to the Constitution of India and the law of the land, we will pull it down.
Okay, and Mr. Radhakrishnan, this is going to be my final question to you, but very important, because this is about the indemnity under Section 79 of the IT Act. Now tell me something, how does this really operate? What is the indemnity that social media platforms really get? Because right now, in this notice that has been sent to Twitter, and I'm reading from it, quoting from it, Twitter Inc. is hereby given one last notice to immediately comply with the rules, failing which the exemption from liability, it says, available under Section 79 of the IT Act in 2000 shall stand withdrawn. Now what really does this mean? And what is this indemnity that the social media platforms right now in the country are getting?
Yeah, so as social media, since you're giving voices to millions and billions of people, you want the platform to be free of biases, right? So what it actually means in simple terms is that you are not liable for what is being said on the platform, right? Because there are so many people using it in so many different ways. But if the platform shows bias and you actually have the platform acting like a media company or a publisher, then the laws of the media company and publisher oriented laws will come into effect, right? So as a social media intermediary, you should act more like an intermediary, which does not show any kind of bias of pulling down or labeling content or anything else, unless the law of the land asks you to, right? That's basically it. So, if you don't fall under the social media intermediary guidelines, if you don't follow it, then you won't be classified as a social media intermediary, but as a media company or a publisher.
Okay, so I think that possibly could be a very important sea change in the, in case the government decides to do this. But this has been a fascinating conversation, Mr. Radhakrishnan, and I think you've laid open a lot of reasons why certain social media platforms are not willing right now to adhere to rules. We are watching that space. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you so much.